Welcome one and all to another day here at The Damage Report. I'm John Iadarola, but I am also very lucky to be joined once again on the show by Benjamin Kroll. Benjamin, welcome back to the show.
Hi, it's great to be here.
Great to have you, Ben. Ben, we're going to talk about a lot of news today. I do want to start off by saying I know a lot of people in the audience probably feel the same way. The loss of Galaxy Brain. It is sad for right now.
Yeah, I'm gonna miss it. Like, honestly, Galaxy Brain had such like a special place in my heart, like, cause it was very like, I don't know, it was such a freeform fun thing. But like, I mean, the good news is it's still up on TYT's website, so like, great opportunity to subscribe to go get that. Okay, everybody that's watching. Like,
that's true. It's been a little bit since you were on the show. What would you say, and stuff changes so fast. What would you say your focus has been recently? If people maybe haven't checked in on your work recently, what have you been focusing your time and energy and passion on?
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of stuff like on the breakdown, right? Which is it's like old, but it's new. Like Hassan used to do stuff there, but now it's like, and so like I really love the breakdown because I'll talk about like like an issue and like I'll break it down, right? And I'll break it down.
Well, you're obligated to on that channel. If you don't break it down, if at the end it's still together, you're banished from the channel.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Continue to break it down. Anyway, very glad to have you here, Ben. We've got a lot of news that we're going to be talking about through the course of today. Not only fallout from yesterday's Twitter hearings, the issue for me in producing this was trying to figure out what do we not cover? Because every moment of that was more ridiculous than the moment that came before. So I've plucked out a few sections that I think are a lot of fun. Let's see. We also have Ron DeSantis responding to the low blows coming his way from Donald Trump. We're going to evaluate how good his response is and what it says about the Republican primary to come. And then we've got a bit of a theme for the latter half of the show, which is they're coming for the kids. Republicans just trying to find every possible way to make the experience of being a young person as terrible as possible. And so that'll be fun. And then if you stick around for the aftermath, we're gonna talk about the differing priorities between prominent Republicans and Joe Biden when it comes to education. He's actually got some good stuff coming, which we're gonna give our response to. And a comedian has reemerged from the shadows following her tragic cancellation. And we're gonna discuss what that might look like at the close of the show. So in advance of that, everyone, please hit the like button, share the stream so that people know we're live. And if you want to reach out to Ben or myself with a question, comment, concern, you can do that on Twitter, in the super chats, on Twitch and everything. And you might, with a comment that's insightful or funny enough, if you get us a laugh, you might have a chance at a Blue Apron gift card. So definitely start sending those in. With all that said though, Ben, are you ready to start the show?
Heck yeah, let's go.
Okay, today we're gonna start off with a little bit of fun with this.
Earlier, you testified about a 2019 tweet that was about President Trump. And I think it's from Ms. Teagan. What was the tweet about?
Would you like me to give the direct quote?
Yeah.
Please excuse my language. This is a direct quote, but Chrissy Teigen referred to Donald Trump as a ass bitch.
Okay.
Day to day politics can sometimes be a grind, but sometimes it's just the best. And I love that. Not only that Chrissy Teigen did it, but that now it's in the official congressional record. Donald Trump is a PAB for all time. You can't change it now. It's there for good. There's nothing they can do about it. But the issue that was raised in Twitter there, and great line of questioning from Maxwell Frost. The issue isn't the tweet. The issue is what Donald Trump, then president of the United States, decided to do about it. And they get into it in their continuing conversation.
And what happened after Ms. Teagan posted her tweet? What did the White House do? What did the Trump White House do?
From my understanding, the White House reached out to ask that this tweet be removed. It was my team's job. This fell underneath the policy for abusive behaviors. And we evaluated underneath our insults policy. At that time, up to 3 insults were allowed. And so it was our job to determine how many insults were included within that phrase.
So the Trump White House reached out, not an agency, but the White House reached out and requested that you remove the tweet.
From my understanding, yes.
Okay.
Okay, so there's actually a lot to talk about here. So Ben, I'm very curious what you think about this. I mean, look, obviously it was an insult. You could interpret it as abusive. You make content, you're on social media, people can be pretty vicious. And I think we can all agree that the internet might be a little bit nicer if there was less of that. That said, the president of the United States pressuring a social media company to take down a jokey insult thrown by Chrissy Teigen seems petty. What do you make of it?
Yeah, I mean, okay, there's so many layers to this. First and foremost, it just reveals like how pathetic like Donald Trump is. Like, come on, like calm down, buddy. Like you're really gonna get that upset. But like Chrissy Teigen's tweets of all people, like, okay,
yeah.
like let's be real, okay? Like Chrissy Teigen's tweet game is pretty mid at best, right? Like so if you're really like tearing yourself up because of Chrissy Teigen's tweet, you gotta like reevaluate your life on some level. But no, it is like, it's because it is kind of like speaks to this like authoritarian character of the political right and their desperation to silence anybody that criticizes them, while also at the same time demanding that everybody listen to them because they will run around and talk about free speech. So when people call me as a trans woman slurs every single day on Twitter, and it is literally every single day, right? Whether that be weirdos in my DMs or people in my replies asking what is a woman randomly, normal question to ask, by the way. That's free speech. That's real freedom right there. But Chrissy Teigen being a little bit mean to poor Donald Trump, that's too far. That's going too far for these people. And so it just speaks, I think, to the shamelessness of like the political right, and it just reveals what we already know, that they don't care about free speech. They care about forcing other people to listen to their nonsense.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and am I being like petty and pedantic when I'm one of the few people who seems to give a damn about what is an actual violation of the First Amendment and what is not? That like people love throwing around like you're censoring me, you're taking away my free speech by criticizing me, or when a private company decides to do something which has nothing to do with the Constitution and is not a violation of the First Amendment because the First Amendment is not about corporate activity. And now we have the president who did it, and it's just gonna be crickets as far as the ear can hear when it comes to the right-wing media. We finally got an actual violation of the First Amendment, and they won't care. And since we all agree now that all of this is fine, and apparently it's now a thing where you can get people to take down insults. I wish I had known that previously, because when Leslie Jones of SNL said that I look like an Instagram DJ and she called me DJ Lunchbox, I didn't know at the time that I could have taken that tweet down, okay? I could have DM'd Twitter and gotten some relief from the brutal roasting that Leslie Jones was giving me. Instead, it stays up to this day, and I cry constantly, just like other alpha males like Donald Trump. Anyway, the fact that he requested it taken out is just so, God, they want to be alphas, but they don't know the first thing about being even regular strong, let alone some sort of mythic conception of modern masculinity. Anyway, as ridiculous as all that is, that was just the beginning of the frivolity on display. Some of the worst people in the GOP took the opportunity yesterday during these Twitter hearings to grandstand, to pepper the people there to testify with questions that made no sense because they're based on conspiracy theories. So you had, I'm not gonna make you listen to all this, by the way. You had Marjorie Greene saying that Twitter had coordinated with the CIA to ban her account. They didn't have much to say about that because that's nonsense. She just made it up. She said repeatedly that they violated her by shadow banning her. They did not. She was temporarily restricted several times for knowingly, intentionally, repeatedly violating COVID misinformation guidelines, and eventually banned for her calls for political violence and overturning the results of elections and all that. That's not a violation. That's them finally, belatedly doing their I would say ethical obligation to, if you're gonna have standards and practices, to actually abide by them. You have her then turning to, I love this rant that she gives about AOC being a perpetual victim. You're talking about the CIA trying to ban your account and how everyone's violating you because they won't let you lie about vaccines. But yes, no, it's AOC she's the victim. But even that wasn't as deranged perhaps as Lauren Boebert. So I apologize to your ears. Here is a bit of the Congresswoman.
Mr. Roth, Miss Gaddy, did either of you approve the shadow banning of my account at Lauren Boebert? Yes or no?
No, I did not.
Not to the best of my recollection.
Well, let me refresh your memory, because on March 12th, 2021, and Mr. Roth, I know you looked at it because Fascist Twitter 1.0 had a public interest exceptions policy, which means for members of Congress to be shadow banned, it had to go before you, Mr. Roth. So I'll ask again, did you shadow ban my account? Yes or no?
Again, not to the best of my recollection.
So the answer is, Mr. Roth, yes, you did. I found out last night from Twitter staff that you suppressed my account for this tweet. It's a freaking joke about Hillary Clinton being angry that she couldn't rig her election. It's a joke.
So look, I don't particularly care about any of the execs at Twitter. I will defend them in this case because it's understandable that the staff at Twitter might not have known that she was joking, because it's very rarely actually clear she's not funny, and she doesn't seem to get that. But regardless, the fact that she is part of a political movement that had spent months at that point denying the results of elections and trying to get mobs in different states and in DC to overturn the results of the election, pretending that your comment was just a joke isn't a good defense. They were trying to stop democracy from dying. And in any event, the reason they kept saying, not to the best of their knowledge, no, we didn't, and she had to just keep insisting that they did, is that she cannot be specific and use words the way they're intended to be used. You could say, did you briefly, temporarily suspend my account as a result of this specific tweet? That is what they actually did. And she asked them that, they would have said yes, and then she could have lost her mind or whatever. Instead, she has to use this buzzword on the right, shadow banning, which means nothing and everything simultaneously. They did not shadow ban her. That's not actually what they did, but she has to present herself as a victim. Every single Republican in the country has to constantly say that they're being disadvantaged by social media, no matter how much interactions they're actually getting on social media. And that is why she didn't get the moment that she wanted. They didn't have to admit to it because they hadn't actually done it. And she just pressed forward because she's not actually that clever. She didn't plan ahead for any of this. You have people like Maxwell Frost and AOC and Porter and all of that who assemble traps rhetorically that people walk into. But Marjorie Greene and Lauren Boebert are not those people. They really want the moments, and the bar is set so low that it doesn't matter that they biffed the whole thing. Their audience is still gonna love it, but it wasn't the moment that she wanted it to be. Ben, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, well, like with Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert, they've realized that with the Republican Party, reality is optional to them, right? Like reality is like, and very often not desired, right? It's actively rejected in a lot of ways. So but can you be shadow banned in a sense in Twitter? Yeah, you can have like a search suggestion ban. You can have a search ban, right? You can have your replies hidden, right? These are all individual things that I guess would fall under that category of shadow ban, and Twitter has like different reasons for this, right? But like at the end of the day, they are a private company, and like ultimately, like all of the data that exists shows that both Twitter, Facebook, all of these major platforms actively are promoting right-wing content over left-wing content, which is just like a random aside. Maybe I'm a little bit controversial here, but I actually do think the First Amendment is too open, right? I think that we could afford a little bit more censorship. I'm of the opinion that we should have two internets, and one should be completely isolated and separate, like children's safe internet, right? That is like completely different from the rest of the internet for like where Twitter and everything is. Because like, I think that the way that things have gone, there's not like calm spaces on the internet. There's not like purely educational spaces on the internet. There's not like, like everything is just turned into this absolute tempest of just like outrage and chaos. And so I do think actually that it would be very beneficial as a society if we maybe had like, I don't know, has anybody ever looked at the United States and said, golly gee, I wish they had more freedom to say exactly what's on their minds? That's what we all really want to hear. Like,
yeah. Just the average American isn't expressing themselves. Yeah, no, it's an interesting idea. I don't know exactly how I feel about it, like an isolated internet specifically for kids, but you could probably get some Congress people interested. I'm sure Matt Gaetz would want to be involved.
Oh, Jesus.
In any event, so yes. Now here's the thing: you did a good job of laying out some of the specific things that one could mean when they say shadow banning. The damning thing about that though is those can be checked. There are tools that you can log on to and see if those specific things are being deployed against you. They don't want to do that because they're not worried about their name not coming up in search. They're worried that they don't get as much of an algorithmic boost as they want. They want to be advantaged by the platform, so they will claim that they're shadow banned no matter what. And by the way, I love the deployment of fascist Twitter 1.0 because of course now Twitter's great. And they wouldn't do any of this stuff. So when Ken Klippenstein literally was search banned, his name would not show up when you search specifically for him, which is a thing that Elon Musk's Twitter 2.0 did. They're not concerned about that, about a journalist being shadow banned in that way. It's the vague shadow ban of past eons that they want to focus on. But that wasn't all that they wanted to focus on. It gets even weirder. Did you really think that we were gonna get through these Twitter hearings without talking, at least briefly, about Hunter Biden's dong? No way, man, not in America, not in 2023. And there are some people who are very worried about how difficult it is to access photos of Hunter Biden's dong. Here is one, Representative Byron Donalds.
What does handled these mean?
My understanding is that these tweets contained non-consensual nude photos of Hunter Biden, and they were removed by the company under.
Hold on, real quick, Mr. Roth. How could you know so much about the content of these tweets? I mean, as far as I'm concerned, these are just web addresses. I don't know what's in these tweets. You have these things committed to memory that you know the content, but you don't know who you talk to at the Biden team?
Sir, I didn't meet with the Biden team, but there was extensive public reporting about these tweets specifically that uncovered what they were.
You know the contents.
Yes, there was extensive reporting about that. And here's the thing, I wanna be very clear. I do not believe Representative Byron Donalds that he doesn't know the content of those tweets because it has been known for a very long time. If we pull up this tweet, Andrew Kerr pulled the web archives of 3 of those links. They were the Hunter Biden revenge porn pics, non-consensual sexual imagery of a private citizen. That's what they actually were. I do not believe that Byron Donalds has gone months and doesn't know, because also, by the way, wouldn't it be crazy? Like, why are you showing this? If you care so little about what's in that you did absolutely no research, why are you focusing on it months later? It would be way weirder if he wasn't lying, but don't worry, he's definitely lying. And again, they don't want to get specific. Byron Donalds doesn't want to say it was wrong of you to take down non-consensual dong pics, okay? He doesn't want to say that because that makes him look terrible. But that is actually the thing that they think they can get Twitter on. So they have to be a little bit vague and just say it's something about Hunter Biden when that's actually what it is. So I would like to challenge Representative Donalds. Why don't you say specifically what you mean? If you're so aggrieved by these photos being taken down, then at least man up and admit it. What do you think, Ben?
Yeah, I mean, like, isn't that just literally illegal in a couple of states? Like, couldn't Twitter literally get in legal trouble for leaving those up? Like, this is what I'm talking about, okay? Where like these people think that freedom of speech means like literally anything and everything. And like we like, for the love of God, have to have some sort of like basic standards of like decency, right? Where like, you know, like things like fraud used to mean something, right? And things like I mean, literally like posting non-consensual pictures of somebody on the internet, like, I don't know, like with our whole modern age, I just think we need like a complete reevaluation of what free speech even means, of what privacy means, and like how all of these things like come together, right? Because like you will see like this whole wide range of people using free speech as an excuse to do like anything and everything. Yeah. And it's the worst people that are using the worst ways. I mean, there's literally police officers running around filming people coming out of like, concerts just to like get their face, and they're saying it's for social media and it's a public space. And so this is like free speech or whatever. And it's like, but like, is it though, you know? And I think we just like everything that we have on the books right now is just incredibly outdated. And we really just need to reevaluate what all these terms should mean in a digital age.
Yeah, 100%. And one aspect of that could be what sort of obligation do social media companies have to take down revenge porn? I think they should probably err on the side of trying to take that stuff down. And by the way, like I am sure that if you got them to actually answer the question, you asked them a question about this, they would of course agree. If I asked Representative Donalds, many people have their accounts hacked into and photos stolen. Exes will use it, those sorts of things. Let's say that you were so unlucky that someone that you had previously trusted had photos of you and leaked them. Do you think that for a true commitment to the First Amendment, Twitter should leave them up, Representative Donalds, that your stolen nude photos should be? Obviously, he doesn't think that. Obviously, he doesn't. But what he does know is that his audience, which he is playing to and wasting our time with, desperately wants to believe that there is something going on with Hunter Biden. They think Hunter Biden's life is a mess, so there's probably something there. And if we focus on that, then Biden's gonna look good. It's tough for them to criticize Biden on actual substance. It's easy for progressives, but they agree with Biden on all the stuff that his donors want, so they're not freed up to actually criticize him on that. So they gotta focus on the salacious stuff with the drugs and the sex and whatever. And so they just have to be talking about Hunter Biden. And that's why we get to these ridiculous lows as a society. That said, there were people at this hearing actually trying to shed light on what the policies of Twitter are and the stakes in those policies. So I want to turn now to Representative AOC raising, I think, a really good topic.
Are you aware that from August 11th to August 16th, that account posted false information about Boston Children's Hospital, claiming that they were providing hysterectomies to children?
Yes, I am aware of that and other claims from the account.
And are you aware that this lie was then circulated by other prominent far-right influencers?
Yes.
And are you aware that all these claims, which I have reiterated were false, culminated in a real-life harassment and ultimately a bomb threat to the Boston Children's Hospital?
Yes, I am aware.
And this account is still on that platform today, isn't it?
Regrettably, yes, it is.
So if you've been following American politics, you already know what account they're talking about. It's libs of TikTok. As AOC lays out, they specifically lied about specific medical procedures being performed at a specific hospital that were not being performed at that hospital, and bomb threats came in. And look, libs of TikTok was not alone in this. Almost everyone in right-wing media was actively lying about this specific hospital, not caring at all what happens. If there's a bomb threat, it didn't bother them. If it was actually bombed or the doctors were murdered coming out of the hospital, they didn't care. Matt Walsh was very specific about that. He doubled down after the threats, and they continued to do this to different hospitals scattered all around the country, and there is an actual cost to that. I want to play a little bit more of what AOC had to say, and then we'll discuss.
Despite inspiring a bomb threat due to the right-wing incitement of violence against trans Americans in this country, because they cannot let go of this obsession with fixating violence and inciting violence against trans and LGBT people, in addition to immigrants, in addition to women of color. This is a party that cannot pick on anyone their own size. And they are trying to co-opt an entire social media platform and use the power of this committee and of Congress in order to pursue a political agenda. I yield back.
Yeah, so look, there are actual concerns about the effects of one set of policies versus another on social media. When those policies are set up in a certain way versus another, people can be driven off the platform. Their lives can be endangered. They can actually be killed. This disinformation and misinformation has an actual effect. These sorts of conversations should be had. They could be had in congressional hearings like this. But the GOP was dead set on making it about themselves. As Anna was saying on the Young Turks yesterday, it's me. Marjorie Greene and Lauren Boebert and all of them, you're being mean to me, you're suppressing my tweets, you're not letting me do blah, 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 whatever. There are people whose lives are being made a living hell, and that is happening for political opportunism to benefit their side, but also for clout and money. People like libs of TikTok and Matt Walsh and all of them are doing this to get bigger audiences to make money, and they do not care at all about the actual human cost of that. Now, of course, they're not going to go quietly into the night after this sort of criticism. Libs of TikTok is already saying that they might sue AOC for pointing out that which is indisputable in this case. But Ben, I know that you probably have thoughts about this. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's just deeply infuriating because it's it's terrifying. These people are like legitimately terrifying. I get these people on my DMs all the time. Like, no, and like fundamentally, they know what they're doing, right? Like they know what they're doing. Twitter knows what they're doing. They know that they're trying to get people riled up. That they saw the whole Pizzagate thing happen, and they were like, yes, let's have more of that, right? They're doing the exact same type of things where they're like, oh, think of the children, think of the children. They invent these conspiracy theories. They start freaking out about things. They like decide that like they should have some sort of authority over the bodies of literal children that are not their own children and that are literally like seeing medical providers elsewhere. And it's just like, it's just really horrific to the point where like, I mean, because like how evil of a person do you have to be to like send a bomb threat to a children's hospital, right? And then how evil of a person do you like to be to like incite that, right? And to like encourage and goad it on. And they say it's not incitement. They say, oh no, like that's the argument that they make. But I think that most rational people would come to the conclusion that it obviously is, and it is deeply, deeply concerning, not only that Twitter has not done anything about it, but also that the new owner of Twitter is regularly interacting with that very same account, right?
Yep.
And like, I mean, literally, like, it's so infuriating. Like Elon Musk, like his wife left him for a trans woman and he's never let it go since and bought Twitter about it just so that armies of weird dudes could say slurs to trans people without getting banned.
Yeah.
Like
100%.
Yeah.
When he really should have other things on his mind. If we could jump ahead to our last graphic in 6, he posted on Twitter, the woke Stasi felt the heat today. Well, first of all, that's a ridiculous read of a set of hearings that went disastrously for the right. It did not demonstrate at all what they said. They revealed what Trump was actually getting up to. They revealed what the right wing has been doing. But by the way, you might notice he posted that at 2:48 a.m., which seems like a weird time to do that. It might have been though, because Twitter was down for a good portion of yesterday. People couldn't tweet because he made another stupid knee-jerk change to Twitter without actually looking into what effect it was gonna have. So people couldn't follow anyone, they couldn't send anyone, they had to like schedule their tweets to get them to come out in just a minute. The platform is an utter mess. And rather than fix that, maybe by resigning and putting someone in charge who actually understands literally the first thing about technology, instead he waited patiently to eventually be able to put his stupid comment up. Anyway, with that said, we're gonna take our first break. We come back, lots more to get to, so don't go anywhere. Twitter can't die fast enough. Anyway.
Oh my God, if Twitter dies, where am I posting my thirst traps, John? You don't understand.
That's what Instagram is for, I hear. I don't know.
No,
I don't have a lot
I
of
have like
thirst
friends
posting
from high
experience,
school that follow me on Instagram.
Oh, I see. Well, don't people set up secondary accounts? Is that still a thing? I don't know. I'm old. Anyway, with that said, let's see what's going on out there in the audience. Oh, it looks like Yasmin Ali Khan's going to be joining Dr. Rashad Ritchie on Indisputable later on today. That should be a great show. Definitely check that out. Okay, some of the members' comments that are coming in. Nasty Habit says, please excuse my late arrival. Had to go to the store, out of coffee. I love someone who comes in and apologizes for not being prompt in watching the show. It's cool. You can do whatever you want, but thank you for being here now, Nasty Habits. Okay, Adrian says, Ben is one of my favorite guests. She always has great commentary. Thank you, thank you. Next TYT reporter says, John said, here's one now, and I thought he meant a picture of Hunter's. No, I'm not reading the rest of that, thank you. That's not what it was. See, we don't believe in posting non-consensual nude photos. I thought that's something we could all agree on, but apparently not. Oh, I just see coming in, Gabby Maz, off the top rope, gifting 1 Damage Report membership. Thank you, Gabby, that's so nice of you. Really appreciate it. Okay, over in the comment, oh, I saw in Twitch, Donkey Teeth Bite says, John hasn't read one of my comments today. Why is TYT shadow banning me? Well, apparently you were in shadow ban because I did see that. Rebecca Hinson, member for 22 months, says, OMG, I forgot about DJ Lunchbox. Thanks for the reminder. Love you all, TYT nerds and Dragon fam. Yeah, that was a weird experience. Anyway, Grizzly Dragon, member for 4 months, says, John, an ugly fight's going on between Amazon and its exclusive authors. Where can I send you info? Needs coverage and isn't being so by corporate media. See, this is why I love our audience, because I don't know anything about that. I did see that I think Brandon Sanderson said some of his books aren't gonna be coming out on Amazon. I don't know if that's a part of it or whatever. But please send me info. You can DM it to me on Twitter, assuming that DMs work or that Twitter works. That would be a great way to get it to me if the platform isn't dead. Anyway, Exoteric says, just loved you both. Thank you. There's no just about that. That's awesome. Meredith Putvin says, the free speech whine has been going on since AOL in the 1990s. I would be fine if there was a constant discussion about free speech, if people just agree to a few simple, like based in reality definitions of words. That would be fine. I would love that. Okay, Aximum says, John hasn't read my resub message for the last 3 months. Why is TYT shadow banning me? Okay, well, let's not make this a thing now, everyone. I read as many comments as I can. There's a lot. And bear in mind, as always, I read as many comments as I can live on air. I read all of the comments off air, but I can't read all of them. Even this explanation is stopping me from reading more of them. Anyway, Apollo Racer has been with us for 12 months over on Twitch and says, I was on YouTube watching the pre-show, thought John was showing us a video of a car chase in Anaheim. It was a video from 3 months ago and I missed him signing off to get ready for TDR, but here I am for my anniversary. That wasn't on today's show, so I don't know what video you were watching, but I'm glad you did end up here. And reminder that the pre-port is now at 9:30 a.m. Pacific, 12:30 p.m. Eastern. The direct lead up now to the damage report now that the watch list is in the early afternoon. Okay, how much time do we have? 20 seconds, let's see. Eco Resto Dragons been with us for 17 months, says, woo, 17 months, Ben! That's a nice use of the message, I love it. Creative Pixie's been here for 8 months, thank you. And Ruggedly Handsome says, TDR and some Valheim, what's gonna cause the bigger jump scare? Oh, I miss Valheim. More news coming out after this. Ben, were you ever a Valheim player?
No. Are we live still?
No, we're live. No, we're live. It's just that this is
I always forget the break format of the show, and I'm like,
no, we're here. We're here.
I played Valheim, yeah.
Oh yeah, I love Valheim. I had such a good time with that. Anyway, if you're looking to burn 30 hours over a weekend, everyone, please download Valheim and give it a try. Anyway, I know there are allegedly other video games coming out this last week. Maybe not the best use of your time, that's all I'm saying. But I don't know. Anyway, I mostly play old stuff. Okay, with that said, we do have a lot of news to get to, everyone. So let's jump directly into this.
I spend my time delivering results for the people of Florida and fighting against Joe Biden. That's how I spend my time. I don't spend my time trying to smear other Republicans.
That is, of course, Ron DeSantis responding to yesterday's Truth Social, look, let's just call it what it is, accusations that he's a pedophile. That is what Donald Trump was doing. He was taking comments and memes made by MAGA heads and using them to imply to his audience that Ron DeSantis, governor of Florida, is a pedophile, or at the very least was years ago. So in response to those as low as they can be blows, he is taking the high road, I guess, saying that he is going to spend his time not attacking Republicans. He's not gonna go low himself. He's gonna instead focus on attacking Joe Biden and delivering for the people of Florida. Of course, you might have noticed that he was standing in front of a bunch of gas stoves because he is not actually interested in delivering for the people of Florida. He's interested in BS culture wars. Those gas stoves in back of him might literally be the only gas stoves in Florida. It's not actually a thing. He's just pretending it is because he's not actually a serious person. He's not actually taking the high road. He just prefers to attack Democrats, and I get it. That is easier. Here's the issue. You're entering into a Republican primary where you're gonna try to take down Donald Trump. So at some point, you are probably going to have to say something about him, and he's definitely gonna say other stuff about you. So my question to you, Ben, is what do you make of this tactic? Not responding with insults, not even directly mentioning what was said, just saying, I'm gonna take the high road. I'm not gonna be that sort of candidate.
I love how foolish it is on the part of Ron DeSantis, to be entirely honest. Because look, let's be real. What do the Republicans want? The Republicans want WWE. They live in a fantasy world. I swear to God, half of the Republican voters unironically think that they are John Rambo. And this is the world that they live in, right? Everything to them is fiction. It's sensationalization, right? And so in the case of Trump versus Ron DeSantis, are there some Republicans out there that are like the Mitt Romney types of like, no, I just really hate poor people, but I would prefer that we use nice words while we take their housing away. You know what I mean? Like that, like that's not a lot of people, right? There's a lot of the Republican Party base is like, I'm literally John Rambo, right? And I want to see the blood sport. I want to see like them like going after each other and stuff like that. Like, and that's like, I mean, literally, this strategy tried it and failed last time. Like, there were Republicans who were trying to be like, I'm a very respectable Republican. I think it's very uncouth of Donald Trump to be saying all these things, but it's like, that's not what they want, right? That's not what these people want. Blood sport, right? These people want like literally, like American politics has devolved so much. Like, I don't know what's going on, but like the Republicans' brains have like rotted away, and all they want to see is like these like dunk sessions. Like, reality is optional to them, and so like, I love that this is going to fail for Ron DeSantis, because I don't think that Trump could successfully be reelected. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Like, but God knows where the world goes, I guess.
Yeah. Well, we'll definitely get into that in a few minutes. Look, I try to play devil's advocate for everything. So, look, there is a chance that this strategy works, and or a chance that it shows itself to be a good strategy. If it turns out that the Republicans are just sick after 8 years of this nonsense and immaturity, and these sorts of attacks hurt Donald Trump, then not descending down to his level will be good for Ron DeSantis. The issue with that is that I see no evidence that that's true. They picked absolute troglodytes and goblins as candidates in 2020, and 2022. So I think they still like it. Another way that it could work for him is if Donald Trump, it turns out, goes to jail or something, or for some reason can't run, then long term for the general election, this is a much better strategy for Ron DeSantis, because if he spends 9 months trading accusations of pedophilia, that's gonna hurt him during a general election. He'll seem like a crazy person, which he is. I don't know how likely that is either. So I largely agree with Ben. I don't think that this is a great strategy. It might be admirable in some way, although it's undercut by the fact that you are constantly viciously attacking people with very little power. Don't pretend that you're some sort of saint when you're constantly attacking random 4th graders. I just don't see how this is gonna work. On a debate stage with speeches month after month after month of absolutely vicious escalating attacks, and not just attacks like these memes, by the way. Like, if you think that we're gonna get through this primary season without his army of online weirdos making deep fakes of Ron DeSantis saying disgusting things, if you don't think the conspiracy theorists are gonna absolutely bury Ron DeSantis in crazy nonsense, well, you got another thing coming. But we'll see. Now, I do want to touch back on one of the points that you raised, Ben, and I think we can get into it starting with this video.
As good as Ron DeSantis is doing, even though he's getting a pack together and looks like he's going to run, Donald Trump's still beating him in most polls. And in fact, I think he's a solid second, but Trump's still up front. And I just wonder on some level if President Biden rather have Trump than DeSantis.
Well, Rand, at this point, Donald Trump's the only one who has declared. So that does have something to do with it.
Yeah, sort of. But I think primary base voters know the shape of this primary. It's a good point to bring up, and we will see. But I want to focus on what Kilmeade or Gutfeld said. Kilmeade, it's Kilmeade. Yes, they always remind me of each other. Kilmeade said right there, which is something that Donald Trump is going to absolutely hate. The idea that he's less electable. The idea that Sleepy Joe could be secretly hoping he goes up against Donald Trump is as vicious a bit of speculation from the point of view of Donald Trump as I can imagine. However, I think we agree with it. Ben, what do you think? Like, if you were Biden, who would you want to run against?
Yeah, okay, so it's easy to make Donald Trump look deeply unhinged, right? It's easy. It's also easy to do with Ron DeSantis, but in a little bit of a different way, I guess. Like it's because like this is the thing. Like, Republicans have a terrible shelf life. Look at Sarah Palin. Even Republicans know that Sarah Palin is a clown. Even Republicans know that George Bush is a clown, right? Once you like are out of office, they're like, okay, we can stop pretending that this wasn't like the dumbest person alive, right?
That's a great point. That's a very good point.
And so like Ron DeSantis is new, so they can pretend that they just don't know. They're like, oh, he took all of the books off the shelves at the school libraries in all of Florida. I don't know that, right? I don't know that he's that deeply unhinged and maniacal, right? Because heaven forbid there be one book on one classroom where one character has two dads. Oh my God, the humanity, heaven forbid. So we got to get rid of all the books, no books allowed. Another First Amendment issue that Republicans never mention. But no, like fundamentally, like Donald Trump has already like literally tried to stage a coup, right? Donald Trump is literally like actively scamming his own base, and like maybe they won't get tired of being scammed by him, but like I think they're ready. I think Republicans are ready for a new scam.
Maybe it is going to be one of the most exciting things to watch, particularly because the shots are all being fired at their own side. For once, I mean metaphorically, the shots are always going to be fired at non-Republicans. That's the way it works out in America, literally. But also, I do want people to prep themselves because it is going to get dirty. Like by the end of the year, a very significant portion of the Republican base is going to be convinced that Ron DeSantis is whatever they have been trained to think is terrible. They are going to think that he's gay by the end of the year. They might think that he's trans by the end of the year. They'll definitely think that he's a pedophile by the end of the year. He's an abortionist by the end of the year. It is going to be a very rough and potentially for some people triggering year to watch the things that will go out on social media, maybe the things that'll happen on the debate stage. So prepare yourselves because it was the first week of February when he called him a pedophile. We've got like a year and 3 or 4 months of primary left to go. So gird yourself. Anyway, with that said, we are going to move on to our next topic right now. Arguably for the fate of the future, more important. Let's jump into this.
He did poke the Republicans. He made some the stuff he said about Social Security was over the top. There's nobody seriously talking about sunsetting Social Security in the Republican Party, but he did it with a smile. It was a jovial Joe Biden, and he provoked that behavior from the Republicans, clearly making Kevin McCarthy uncomfortable.
We do know that entitlements have been part of the discussion long term, though, about where the country can potentially save money. Democrats say that's a non-starter.
So I'm glad that the second person in that clip pointed out that, like, no, the Republicans are very much talking about this. The first voice was, of course, ABC News chief Washington correspondent Jonathan Karl, who was specifically wrong. Some Republicans have specifically talked about sunsetting it. He was also generally wrong in that focusing on that makes it seem as if the idea that Republicans want to make major changes outside of just sunsetting to Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid is a crazy thing to think about, which it's not. And in case you aren't familiar with what's been going around in Republican circles, here is an awesome montage Ashley put together, a reminder of their actual positions on entitlement reform.
Where should those budget cuts come from right now? Medicare and Social Security, the White House insists Republicans want to cut. What cuts do you want?
Well, let me be clear about that, and I've been clear many times. No, we're not talking about that. And to really be able to do this right, I'm not going to negotiate this in the press.
Entitlements are going to consume the budget. Medicare and Social Security and other entitlement programs are worth saving are going to consume the debt. So entitlement reform is a must for us to not become Greece.
Recently put out an 11-point plan to rescue America. 2 of the big points of which are, quote, all Americans should pay some income tax. It also says all federal legislation sunsets in 5 years. So that would raise taxes on half of Americans and potentially sunset programs like Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. Why would you propose something like that in an election year?
Sure. Well, John, that's, of course, the Democrat talking points. It's a
No, it's in the plan. It's in the plan.
But here's let's think about reality for a second. First off, let's talk about Medicare.
But Senator, hang on.
John.
So it's not a Democratic talking point. It's in the plan.
I'm here right now to tell you one thing that you probably haven't ever heard from a politician. It will be my objective to phase out Social Security, to pull it up by the roots and get rid of it.
If it was Matt Gaetz, I think that we do need reforms to Social Security and Medicare. I understand politically enough people.
But that can come later. That's
not going to happen now.
Right.
Medicaid.
And you don't need to have.
By the way, Medicaid should not be a sacred cow.
Big time.
Yeah, there's meat on the bones, he said earlier, and he's not the only ones. I mean, you had great stuff of Rick Scott It's in the, you could look at it. He wants to make it something that has to be voted on every few years, which is not something you do to something you consider to be sacred, that cannot be challenged. And jumping ahead, Mike Pence just last week said they should privatize Social Security. And of course, Matt Gaetz has been attacking these programs as well. And by the way, I understand that the mainstream media is going to be focusing on Social Security and Medicare, and many people are obviously on that, and they're very important programs, but they also routinely talk about cutting Medicaid, and that's the one that we're supposed to not pay any attention to because those people are poor. Screw them. We don't actually care about what happens to them. But anyway, the idea that people like Jonathan Karl would be running cover for the Republicans going into a negotiation where Kevin McCarthy is saying, no, I am not going to agree that we won't be talking about those. That's not how we're going to negotiate. It is super clear what they actually want, Ben. But what do you think about it?
Yeah, I mean, this is just like the obvious Republican tactic. They do this all the time where they say, I mean, literally, like you have Mitch McConnell putting out like campaign information talking about like, oh yeah, we got to protect Social Security and Medicare. And they're like, we have to protect it by gutting all of the benefits, right? So that like it lasts longer. We're running out of Social Security, so we gotta cut the benefits to make it last longer. And like they invent all these mental gymnastics, and like they'll do all these ridiculous things to say that they're not really trying to cut Social Security, when that's exactly what they're doing. And that's why like we'll sunset every federal legislation. We're not specifically going after Medicare, right? Mm-hmm. And like fundamentally, because they know that they're unpopular. Like, look, like let's be real, right? The Republican Party is a party of like just unbelievably wealthy capitalists who want to rob the American people blind and have found the biggest dupes in the United States. And those are racists, transphobes, and homophobes. Easiest people to trick into literally anything. You tell somebody you tell them that something is Satan or that it's gay, and they are like, I'm like, you're right, I'm against it, right? Like, and so like they're just the easiest people to fool in like the history of the planet Earth. And so that's what the Republican Party does, right? Like they, and so whenever anybody brings up like, hey, this is what they're actually doing, they have to just very overtly lie and hope that the evil, gay, satanic Democrats are so scary enough that when they tell you the truth, that you won't believe them.
Yeah, 100%. Even when they say it flat out, like Mike Lee telling a group of people, the average age of which is 79, I'm gonna kill Social Security. You know that thing that you rely on? I'm gonna kill it. And they're like, yay, I think this is good. That's mine though. I like food and being able to buy it, I guess. Anyway, they've been well trained as a people. Okay, with that said, we're gonna take a short break. We come back, lots more news to get to. Don't go anywhere. Okay. Oh, for some reason that transition's taking longer than before. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Let's see what's going on. Okay. Eclectic Miscellaneous says in the member comments with a photo of Ron DeSantis responding to the Trump thing. Is that Spanish and French text I see on those oven boxes behind DeSantis? I knew he was a closet liberal. Someone should tell him in America, we only speak English. 100%. He's outwoked the woke, Ron DeSantis did. Oh, they're gonna be looking for every opportunity to call him woke. The previous prediction that some people made was that at some point on the debate stage, Trump is gonna call him Miss Florida and he's going to pee himself. But they're definitely gonna convince everyone that he's woke as well. It's just gonna be so rough. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there's already a huge audience for transvestigation, right? Like, if you really want to see the most unhinged people in the world, like, look at what the transvestigators are up to. And so there's probably already people studying that about.
What are the transvestigators?
Oh my God. Okay, transvestigators, they are like, it's sort of like a huge part of like the satanic panic thing, but it's also just part of like these like TERFs, like these transphobic weirdos. They unironically think that in order to become rich or famous at all, that you have to make a deal with the devil, become trans, and that's how you become a celebrity. So they unironically think that like every celebrity is trans, right? Like people like Salma Hayek, right? People like James McAvoy, like literally anybody that in any ways in the public light, they're secretly trans, and they will like circle their jawline. They'll be like, look at their jaw, their hips and their bones, and they like, it's like they're just like, it's unbelievable. Most unhinged people, and they're kind of.
Hold on. Does this apply to famous authors too? What about rich famous authors?
Okay, but unironically though, there have been transvestigators that are like that think that J.K. Rowling is some sort of psyop. Like unironically, like literally. No, I'm serious. It's like literally like, yeah.
So they think every conservative celebrity is trans too. I don't understand these people.
Like it doesn't make any sense.
Flat. So I don't know. Thank you for revealing that to me. I now regret living on Earth. Anyway, okay, so we've got lovely Pariah gifting a membership. Thank you for that. And also hitting 5 months as a member on YouTube. Much appreciated. By the way, you might be wondering, what is this whole thing about membership? What is it about? Don't worry, I'm gonna explain it. So when you're a member, you get access to members only content, of which there's quite a bit, including at tier 2 and tier 3, you get access to the weekly top 10 list that I do with Francesca Fiorentini. We've done well over 100 at this point. There we have a lot of fun. And at tier 3, we do a monthly members hangout and just chit chat, talk movies, books, TV shows, stuff like that. It's a lot of fun. And you also get your names in green. You get a little badge. You get access to the emojis, which are a lot of fun. And remind me, we got to come up with some new emojis. It's been a little bit since we have, so let's come up with some. In any event, we're gonna make an electric stove that you can use to trigger conservatives. Anyway, Jason Ray says in the super chats, it's not like a candidate illegally paid a porn star hush money to stay silent about him raw dogging her while his third wife gave birth or something. That was all the original language of the super chat. But yes, that is also true. Darren Skolsvold says John never reads my comments because my name scares him, even though my month renewal got ignored. Again, it's not ignored. I cannot read off. I'm not ignoring it. Please understand. But sorry, and I might have mispronounced your name. Not scared of it. It's actually quite interesting. Anyway, Gomez says Benny has the best laugh on TYT. Well, I don't know if there's much competition. I think it's pretty much agreed at this point. It is known. Okay. Oh, there's too much. Okay. We'll get to more comments after this. Okay, just a couple comments. I think we're only gonna be able to do one story in this segment anyway, so I have time for a few comments. Okay, Hoovian Scarf Dragon says, leave Ben alone. She's smart enough to figure out how to use telekinesis. Tipperay Dragon says, woohoo, Ben, delighted you're back on regular TYT. You're fab, love all your shows and bits. Awesome. Okay, Wayne Miller says, have you paid attention to WWE's backstage drama? Vince pulled a coup to get back into power after resigning in shame last year. Maybe worth covering. I'm familiar with it. Is it worth covering? I don't know. I don't know. We'll see what happens there. I mean, look, he's been accused of sexual harassment and misconduct and stuff. So that is the sort of thing that we do sometimes talk about. We will see. Okay, Bernie the Kiwi Dragon said in the super chat, Ron DeSantis, it's over, Donald Trump. I took the high road. Trump, you underestimate me bigly. Yeah, no, that low road goes really low. We're gonna see. Okay, with that said, let's jump into some important news. The quest to root out literally any shred of access to abortion or consideration for basic human rights and access to healthcare continues in Idaho. On Tuesday of this week, new bill was introduced that would classify the act of helping a pregnant minor to get a criminal abortion as human trafficking. So that's bad enough. But I want to be very clear about what they're trying to outlaw. They're not just trying to outlaw stuff happening in Idaho, by the way, with penalties as high as 2 to 5 years in state prison. No, it goes way beyond that. If you help someone leave the state to go to a state that perhaps exists in our millennia and has laws that actually have consideration for human dignity and all that, that would still be illegal under this bill. If you go to a place where abortion is legal, it would be illegal. You could spend half a decade in prison. That's what they want to do. Representative Barbara Earhart of Idaho Falls put forward House Bill 98, expands the state's existing trafficking laws and would restrict alternative ways a pregnant minor might seek an abortion. So they have found a form of trafficking that maybe they would care if Matt Gaetz did it. The traditional forms, they weren't interested. So anyway, look, there's a lot of different ways that they're trying to restrict people's rights. They've generally focused on restricting them inside of their state borders, but that is not good enough for these people. They are totalitarians. They want the law in different places that they don't control to be up to them, and that's what they're trying to enshrine here. Ben, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's like, look, this is terrifying and this is infuriating because it's all part of It's all part of a larger campaign from the right to basically like attack children. I know that they're saying that they're like, trying to protect children, but like fundamentally, this is an attack on children specifically because what we have seen through all the past like movements, right, over the past like, several years is pushing this idea, I know it's bold, that children are not property, that they are a responsibility, that if you are a parent, you are responsible to your children and you're not the owner of your children. And the reason why the idea of owning children is so important to these conservatives is because they're terrified of the idea of their kids growing up to be gay or trans or getting abortions or voting for Democrats or like, I don't even know, listening to Billie Eilish. Or whatever, right? Like they're just terrified of like their kids not doing exactly what they want them to like all the time. And it's just like rooted in this idea of like thinking that children are private property. And so that's part of this whole like restriction on abortion. It also goes in terms of like, because it targets women too, right? Because they don't just view children as property, they view women as property, right? And so like that's why like the attacks on children and the attacks on women are happening in tandem with each other, and they're using attacks on bodily autonomy as a way to do it, because bodily autonomy is something that the United States has very often used to oppress children and women, where men have denied women getting their tubes tied, right, with their husbands or whatever. Men have like wrongfully institutionalized their wives in the United States. I mean, and like literally, like do you like chat? I mean, seriously, look up what happened to JFK's sister, and that's a pretty great example of like how the United States treats not only women but also children.
Yeah, Google spousal rape and the position of many right wingers up till very recently on that. 100%. By the way, traveling across state lines for an abortion is a thing. It was, before Roe v. Wade was taken out, and it appears that the numbers are changing a little bit over time. So about 1 in 10 people obtained an abortion traveling across state lines before Roe v. Wade was overturned. But if we jump ahead to graphic 4, you're going to see over time, based on the overall tenor of the state's abortion-related policies, how that number is changing. And you could see just in the run-up to, this is 2020, by the way, in hostile states, more and more people are having to leave. It's not generally a thing that you will do, obviously, if your state is civilized when it comes to these laws, but in some places they are required to. This is the sort of thing where there has to be some sort of federal guidance. Obviously, we're not going to get out of the Supreme Court. They're fine with turning us into Gilead. They don't care. But the Democrats should be leading on trying to stop this sort of insanity. In any event, that's all the time we have for the first hour of the show. Thank you everyone for watching and or listening on the podcast. Love our podcast listeners. There's a lot more to come in the aftermath though. If you're on Twitch, YouTube, the members app, a lot of other places, don't go anywhere. Ben and I will be back after this. Welcome to the Pupper Math. This is my co-host, Hilo. He's very excited to talk about the news. He's especially a fan of pop culture news. So we're gonna be talking a little bit about the most recent episode of Last of Us. And I'm kidding. But anyway, he's here in the studio today. He just wanted to say hi. Okay, so with that said, I'm John Iadarola, Ben Carolla. Ben, as always, glad to have you here. Thank you for being with us.
Yeah, it's great. And it's great to see your dog too. Okay, that should be more frequent.
Thank you. He's doing very well. Kind of hurt my back a little bit picking it up right there, but that's my struggle, okay? Anyway, we have a lot of comments that I want to make sure that we recognize before we move into more horrendous news. And I love that the chat is absolutely filled up with dog emojis. Not all of my dog. There's a lot of Sprocket there. But anyway, the goodest boy with only about half of Sprocket's head size. Yep, 100%. Okay, let's see. Katie Bookworm Keaton says in the super chat, there's a fantastic biography about Rosemary Kennedy. It's long but well worth it. Rosemary, the Hidden Kennedy Daughter by Kate Clifford Larson. Thank you for the suggestion. I love people just suggesting books in the super chats. That's nice. I can get used to that. Smiling Dragon says, love you, Ben. Glad to see you back. Hey, John, keep up the great work. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Wizard of Frobaz says, women and children are going to become property of the state if Republicans, fascists have their way. There are many implications with parents reduced to child farmers for the state. Yeah. By the way, Big Bull Dragon said in response to my confusion about Kilmeade and Gutfeld, easy to mistake the two. They're both terrible, which they are, but Kilmeade is, in my view, significantly less terrible than Gutfeld. Kilmeade holds some bad positions. Gutfeld is enthusiastically awful. Like his entire career is being terrible, and he knows that, and he's doubling down on it. Okay, let's see. A Risden became a member for the 4th month, says gift memberships rock, and so do those that gift them. So saith Rainbow Molly Dragon. Thank you. Stone of the Bone Dragon's been here for 3 months, says John, I will worship you till you come back to earth and save your children. Jesus. Izzy Roberts says, member for 15 months, says GOP is so child friendly. They want preteens to be armed, no abortions for any reason, and call those who struggle with raising a child asking for support a moocher. 100%. They want to guarantee that these kids have to have kids of their own, and then there will be no support for them once they do. Reallen gifted a membership, which is much appreciated. Thank you so much. And with that, why don't we jump into some other news? Montana schools have decided that there is not nearly enough bullying going on, so they're gonna start to find some ways to enshrine it into their actual regulations. The schools there are now not gonna be able to punish students who purposefully misgender or dead name their transgender peers under a legislative proposal being backed by the Republicans right now. Obviously, opponents of this say this is going to increase bullying because that is literally the only potential outcome of this, is more of the sort of bullying that the Republicans like and want to encourage. That's what it is. It's co-sponsored, by the way, by more than 24 GOP lawmakers. It would declare that it is not discrimination to use a transgender classmate's legal name or refer to them by their birth gender. Schools would be prevented from adopting policies to punish students who do so. The main sponsor, Representative Brandon Lurr, doesn't want you to believe that he's just a bigot or anything. He's got a great scientific, logical argument for this. He says his children who live on a farm and ranch have learned from a very young age that cows are cows and bulls are bulls, and it's not open for interpretation. And I say that America, the richest, most powerful nation in the world, should definitely be ruled by people who talk like that. Anyway, he says children should not be forced to call somebody something they're not. That's the issue. They're not, they are. They are actually the thing they want to be called. Your attempt to say that otherwise doesn't make it so. That's not actually how it works. In any event, it's absolute garbage. It's designed to encourage bullying. That's what it's for, with the goal being, if we enlist kids to hound trans youth day after day, year after year, then maybe some of them will never transition or whatever. Maybe some of them will, like that's the idea. It is, they are not trying to stop specific medical procedures. They're trying to eliminate trans people as a thing. They don't want that to exist anymore. That's what this is about. Anyway, I know we were just talking about legislation targeting kids before, Ben, but what do you make of this?
Yeah, I mean, I hate these people so much. They're literally
why?
I mean,
hold up. You're throwing words like hate around. They seem lovely, cows, bulls, whatever.
Yeah. Oh my God. I hate these people so much. No. Okay. Like, look, chat, let's just be real. Let's be very real. What do these people want? Okay. These people actively want, right, trans people, not just to not exist, right, but to be victims of suicide. That is just like point blank exactly what this policy is specifically for, because I cannot tell you how many times, right, whether it's me or one of many other trans people that I talk to or follow on Twitter, living our best lives, we have somebody come in citing suicide statistics, right, about our existence. And it's not because they think that the suicide rate is indicative of like transness being something that's inherently like harmful to yourself. It's a rubbing salt in the wound. It is literally it is literally wishful thinking on their part. These people are evil. They're monsters, right? They are literally going after not only children, but some of the most vulnerable children in our society. And like fundamentally for what? Because like, look, I know that I have a master's degree in biotechnology. I'll go on this rant if you really want me to, because like trans women are biologically women. I know this is wild, but there's like a huge laundry list of things that are used to determine biological sex. And your brain is on that list of things, right? It is literally on that list of things. And believe it or not, I know this is really wild. I'm on hormones, right? Hormones is one of those things that is a determining factor of biological sex. So have I then changed my biological sex, or have I slid one of these things into from one category to another? And then it changes your bone structure. My shoe size is shrunk. I'm shrinking physically. Your bones change even as an adult. Like all of the stuff that they say, oh, it's never gonna change this, it's never gonna do this, it's never gonna do this. They have no idea what they're talking about. These are like ignorant fools that just want to be hateful. So like straight up, the only reason they would ever pass any type of law, right, that to protect people who want to actively misgender people is to cause psychological harm. Because the one thing that they're afraid of, like, let's be real, one thing that these transphobes hate more than anything else is the idea that femininity in any way, shape, or form could possibly be desirable. That is what these people hate more so than anything else. Because like at the end of the day, they hate women so much. Like they just really do.
No. It's the same people, by the way, that want to outlaw discussions of white privilege because that'll hurt kids' feelings. It's, the same people who don't want a teacher to casually mention that they're gay because kids are so sensitive that will destroy them. They need to be protected from these scary realities, but hounding them specifically in this way is now legally protected. It's like, again, like when we talk about things being systemic, they are enshrining them in actual law. These are not just terrible cultural things or whatever. These are the official legal positions of a party. Absolutely terrifying. By the way, I'm glad that you are here to add that scientific component to it and talk about these different, sliders and everything in different ways. For me, like, even if you didn't have any of that, which makes perfect sense, I wouldn't care. Get off people's asses is what I believe about it. It has nothing to do with you. If the worst thing going on in your life is that a trans person exists 3,000 miles away, then what you need is not a change in the law. What you need is a GD hobby. Okay, and there's many great ones. I can suggest some if you want to DM me.
Yeah, and like seriously, like if you ever like are bothering yourself with what is in somebody else's pants, you really need to ask yourself what on God's green earth you are doing with your entire life, right? Yeah. Like, because if it's if it's not somebody that you're in a relationship with consensually, then it shouldn't even be on your mind in the first place.
Should not mind your business. It's the Karenization of America in multiple different aspects. Okay, in a moment, we're gonna move on to another topic, everyone. But first, let's see what's going on out there in the audience. Chase Lindley, member for 18 months, says, took a mental health day and glad to spend it here live with John and Ben. We're glad that you are spending it in that way, thank you. Beta Ray Bob sent in a super chat saying, how long do you think it will take for people being questioned by the GOP to ask the questions what reality they're asking questions from? I think we've seen a little bit of that, because again, they just say the thing that they saw in a meme. Marjorie Greene believes whatever she sees on the internet. That's actually how her brain works. Okay, oh my God, there's a lot going on Twitch. Rusty Bikes has been here for 20 months and says John won't read this. Well, you're dead wrong, okay? I did read it. Anyway, okay, let's see. There's so much. Nerdopithecus has been here for 12 months, says Ben is a beautiful bastion of bubbling brilliance. I like that. Octo Squiddies had noticed the same thing as another commenter. Those gas stoves are labeled in Spanish. Woke, woke. Exactly. I would love to see Trump attack him for having Spanish in the background. Anyway, Stone Crab Angie says, my parents watch Fox News all day. They legit pause it. It's getting bad. We're in Florida and they love Ron. How do I help them see the light? They pause it so they won't miss anything. Oh God. How do you help? I don't know, have them check Trump's recent Truth Social feed. Maybe that'll crack some of their confidence in Ron DeSantis or in humanity. Okay, that said, we got more to talk about. So whenever we're ready, why don't we jump into this?
Joe Biden gets through his climate change, big spending nonsense, and then he gets to taxes. So how's he gonna pay for all this? The answer, of course, is that he's going to yell at the rich people again and pretend they don't pay their fair share of taxes. Now, let me explain to you. Rich people don't only pay their fair share of taxes, they pay literally everyone's taxes. 57% of households in the United States pay no income tax. That does not sound fair to me. I have been at nearly every income bracket in American public life, and I can tell you this, I pay way the hell more taxes now than I did 15 years ago when I was in a much lower income tax bracket.
So it's gonna get weirder from there, but I wanted to start with that because I like to occasionally check in on the populist right and find out of all their populism and how they're finally a voice for the silenced poor conservatives around the country. So what you saw there was a defense of the rich combined with how dare you poors not pay income tax. 57% of the country doesn't pay enough. They're getting away with murder from the point of view of their avatar of right-wing populism. Of course, it's nonsense because as they will conveniently forget when making points like that, income tax is not the only tax that people pay. And especially if you are poor, you are effectively paying everything with sales tax and the other taxes that you have to pay. You might not pay income tax because you literally don't pay enough money to qualify for it, but you are indeed paying. That said, as I said, it does get a little bit weirder. Let's jump to this next video.
Joe Biden proclaiming that people who are wealthy don't pay their fair share is sort of like proclaiming that the morbidly obese do not pay their fair share in terms of food. They really, really do. Okay, it turns out that the people who earn the most also pay the most in taxes, and they pay a disproportionate share in taxes. The percentage of money that the most wealthy in our society own compared to the amount of taxes that they pay. When you're talking about earned income, we're not talking about their assets that they already paid taxes on and then translate into real estate or stock or something. Wildly disproportionate. They pay more than they actually earn in terms of percentage taxes versus percentage of the income earned from the economy. Okay, but he's gonna keep proclaiming forever and always that the rich aren't paying their fair share, because if Joe Biden never told the truth about taxes, which is to pay for all of his garbage, you, like the normal middle class person, or you, the person at the bottom end of the spectrum, you're gonna have to increase your taxes. If you ever said that, everybody would immediately dismiss him.
I love the double think that's necessary for a poor conservative watching this. So at the end of that, he fear-mongered to you by saying, they're lying to you. Biden is gonna make you pay more in tax, so you shouldn't support him. 2 minutes prior, he was saying, you guys need to pay more in income tax. You're not paying enough, you're getting away with murder. So which is it? Is it a good thing or is it a bad thing? But I wanna focus briefly, Ben, on the idea that the rich aren't paying their fair share in taxes is like the morbidly obese not paying their fair share in food. Now, I don't know what that means because I'm an idiot, but I have heard that Ben Shapiro is an intellectual gladiator. He's the cool kid's philosopher. So there's definitely something to that. It's not stupid BS. It's got a deep meaning. What do you think he meant by that?
Yeah, it's really wild. Like, it just seems like he wanted to like he's obviously trying to be clever, right? But just couldn't. Like, he just wanted to bring some weird fat phobia into this for like no reason. Like, he was like, because I get it, right? You're a right winger, that's what your audience loves, right? Your audience loves hating on people for really no reason. And so like, if you wanna convince people that rich people are not paying enough in tax or paying too much in taxes, then just insult some other random innocent bystander and then they'll go, ha ha ha. because they're just like being bullies, because they're like fragile, weak, pathetic people that want to bully others so that they feel less weak and pathetic.
Yeah, 100%. And for the vast majority of people who are watching his show, I can't communicate directly with them, but those of you watching this, the system is set up where you pay taxes, which goes to paying for different stuff. And the reason you pay that is, in some sense, because you are benefiting from whatever it is that we get out of the fact that we have this government. So my job is that I come to the studio, I read and research the news or whatever, and then I discuss it. And in theory, the reason I can do that rather than being murdered by rampaging marauders is because we have a government and you have whatever, and the roads work, and there's electricity that gets regulated. Like, I benefit. There is a system that is set up, supposedly, that is stable. Sometimes it is California, usually it's on fire, that allows me to do my job. And because of that, when I do my job and I make income off of it, some of that goes to the government. But do you see the trick that he's playing there? That's the only area where the tax should be taken from, even though you are benefiting from this system. So a rich person who, again, is able to put their money into real estate and stocks or whatever, and is able to profit from that because of this system that makes that stuff stable and predictable and all that, should not have to pay extra taxes, according to him. Even though, again, philosophically, they're benefiting from the system. You that makes your money off the sweat of your brow, or your intellectual output, or your creative output, or whatever it is, you should have to pay. But the absolute richest people who are objectively benefiting more from the system we have should not have to pay. Again, that is the message that we are getting from the populace on the right. The idea that the right accepts it is mind-boggling to me, but that is actually what he's saying there.
Yeah, I mean, and when you look at the way money works, like if you just give me like indulge me for a second to explain, like taxes are what gives money value, right? Taxes are what gives money value, right? Like quite literally, it is how you generate demand for cash, right? And who does not have demand for cash? Who has too much cash on their hands that they're putting into other things? What is the value of cash measured against? Oh yeah, capital assets, things like factories, things like real estate, things like stocks and bonds. Okay, now who has a lot of demand for cash? Oh, poor people, right? So the reality is that there's not really any reason to tax people who are living below the cost of living, because their demand for cash is the maximum possible amount that it could be. Whereas with incredibly wealthy people, they actually devalue money by putting all of their cash assets into more long-term assets, these capital assets, right? Like factories and other things like that, right? Real estate, you name it. And that is what causes inflation. Quite literally, you could give everybody like the cost of living and literally not have any type of inflation, as long as you are taxing wealthy people enough to make sure that they are not just taking all of their money out of the cash economy and putting it into these capital assets. Like fundamentally, like it only gets to the point that's oversaturated when you reach total productivity. When every single person has a job and is working to their maximum capacity, that is when you would reach inflation with like covering everything. But the United States, our levels of productivity are so high that like we could all be working 20 hours a week and have a government guaranteed cost of living and not have any inflation, as long as millionaires and billionaires are paying their taxes. But they would rather you all be poor so that they can have power over you. They don't even necessarily care about being rich. They just care about being richer than poor people. Like, it's really more about a power relationship than it is even about the money in and of itself.
Okay, I only understood a few of those words. You're coming off a little bit like an intellectual gladiator there. But I'm gonna assume, because you sound smarter than me, that you know what you're talking about. No, exactly. And look, this is why we have to have shows that can provide a counter to the purposeful bamboozling of the poor and working class that you get from the right. They're gonna have their Ben Shapiro's and their Steven Crowder's and their Matt Walsh's or whatever that try to trick them into like loving their subservience to the rich, or at the very least distract them with nonsense, crusades against trans folk and Muslims and all that. Like there needs to be a counter to that, which is why we have people like Rye himself saying Ben needs her own TYT show again, and perhaps hopefully keep sending you messages. You never know. Unfortunately, that's probably all the time we have for the show today. Ben, always great to have you here. Where can people see more of your great content?
Yeah, you can always follow me on Twitter at Benjamin Carollo, and you can check out my videos on at TYT Breakdown. I try to get at least 5 out every week so that you have plenty of content to enjoy breaking down concepts like I just did, right? Only even more with a ton of other stuff. So check it out.
And the concepts will be broken down, or else.
That's it. Yes.
Anyway. Okay, well, thank you again. That was a lot of fun. Have a good one. And for those of you at home, thank you so much for joining us for another episode of The Damage Report. There's a lot more to come, obviously, on the network. Indisputable coming up in just a few. Dr. Rashad Ritchie, Yasmin Ali Khan, lots of fun there. You've got Unbossed with the amazing, the fantastic, the legendary Nina Turner. And of course, there's Jen and Anna. Anyway, no, I'm kidding, they're great. So the thing is, before you launch into that great day of content, you do have one chore. That is voting for the garbage person of the week. We need to take out the trash, and I need to know which trash to take out. So go to the community tab on our YouTube page at youtube.com/thedamagereport, and you can vote for your garbage person of the week. Brett Ehrlich will be joining me tomorrow. We're gonna be putting forward our garbage people of the week. It'll be a lot of fun, and I hope to see you there. But for now, stay safe out there, stay sane out there, and I'll see you soon.